Boom, welcome back to another episode of Evolving Through Experience, where we discussing growth in every aspect, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and beyond. We gotta definitely add that beyond in. So if you're not evolving, you're dissolving. So today we have a special guest, another special guest. All my guests are very special. We got my guy Damon.
Let's
How
go.
you feeling, bro?
Man, I'm feeling absolutely amazing. Even better now that I'm here with you.
Nah, I appreciate it, bro. I definitely just want to start off by saying I appreciate having you on. I definitely don't take it lightly, so I appreciate you being here.
Sure, thank you, man.
Yo,
it's
bro,
an honor.
Nah, for sure. So let's get straight into it, bro.
Let's
We're
do
gonna
it.
talk about, like I said, growth in every aspect. So a lot of people come to my show, and it really, I call it a show, not even a podcast, because it's way bigger than podcasts. I tell people all the time, it's life or death. Like, if we're not evolving, we are literally dissolving.
100%.
So I want to talk about, before we even talk about any business, we barely talk about business on here. I want to ask you some of your experiences on how you've been able to evolve from all of those different aspects.
Yeah.
So we can start whichever one you're comfortable with.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I was born at a very young age. We can start with that.
Okay.
Some of your audience will get that on the way home. Listen, I try to cut a couple of jokes just to kind of make things easy. I don't have money like Kevin Hart, but I'm short like him too. You ain't got no drums in the background? All right, let me get to it. Man, I've been evolving since I was born, literally. Like, in the womb, you're always consistently evolving. I think the difference is the intention behind what you evolve at, right? If you're always evolving or dissolving, you're either growing or you're dying in every phase of your life. So I think when there's intention behind the evolvement, right? Whether it's in your business, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your finances, in your contributions to the world, whether it's in your lifestyle, like, where do I need to evolve? So for me, I think that the paradigm shift for me, when I really evolved and I knew I was being intentional about it, was when I hit one of the hardest times of my entire life. 2014 was probably the toughest emotionally, mentally, physically, time of my entire life. I was about to lose anything and everything that you could think of that somebody would love, whether it's family, whether it's my children at that time. It was a very tough situation, but around that time is when I realized something needed to change. And of course, one of the most difficult things is to deal with change in any way. And sometimes I always tell people, knowledge is not as good as awareness. Like, it's one thing for me to look up all the books, like, you can Google how to be successful just about at anything. But if I'm not aware and honest with myself about who I am, I can't even be intentional about what I need to change. Correct. Right? If I continue to blame everybody else, I tell people that play the victim are like a cork on water. You move and sway with circumstance. Everything moves you. So if it's always the government, if it's always other people, if it's my spouse, if it's my boss, if it's always somebody else, then at what point do I take responsibility? Right. Because in order for my life to change, I have to change something about me, because they're not going to change anything for me. And so I would say 2014 is when I really started to see an evolution in the life of Damon Dillard.
Love that. And just if you don't mind me asking to go a little bit deeper, what was like that exact experience? I know you say losing everything, so it's like I'm sure obviously job, but what was like the exact experience of like what you was actually losing? Yeah.
So, well, I'll say this first. My transition into entrepreneurship was very peculiar.
Okay.
I tell people that you have two different dates when it comes to entrepreneurship. You have the date when you sign up for what you think it will give you, right? I sign up for the job because the job is going to pay me XYZ. When you sign up for entrepreneurship, you sign up for the promises of entrepreneurship. Freedom, right? I'm going to be able to do less and earn more. But then you have the date that you actually commit to being an entrepreneur, which are two totally different dates. I tell people, when you become an entrepreneur, there's like a mirror that shows up for your life. I don't know, I may be dating myself. You ever seen Snow White?
Snow White?
Yeah,
no.
like, okay, like...
I heard of it.
Now I feel real old. Okay, like, so Snow White is a Disney show, right?
Okay.
And it's a mystical, fictional story, right?
Oh, okay. I think
like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Okay. It's more familiar now.
Okay, all right, cool.
I remember. All right,
so, like, she had this mirror, right? And it was a magical mirror. And anytime that she looked in the mirror, she would say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" Okay. And then the mirror would respond back and it would say, "Well, you are, blah, blah, blah." I think the same thing happens in entrepreneurship, but the difference is this. When you look into the mirror of entrepreneurship, you're saying everything that you want. I want a nicer house. I want a nicer car. I want more fulfillment. I want more money, blah, blah, blah. But what the mirror says back to you is everything you need to become. It says, okay, you need to become a better father. You need to become a better husband. You need to become a better communicator. You need to become a better leader. You need to become better with your integrity. You need to become better with character, with morals, in order for you to earn all these things as an entrepreneur. The challenge was I had not changed that. So my talent was always able to get me somewhere where my character couldn't keep me. And so the reason why I became very good at entrepreneurship is I was naturally talented. And let me be absolutely clear, okay? Just because you have the gift of gab does not make you good at sales. That just means you talk a lot, right? Like, I was good at sales, but I also talked a lot, as everybody can probably already tell, right? But what ended up happening, man, I got started in the life insurance industry in April of 2014. By October of 2014, I was doing well, but I did not know how to budget my money or budget my life. And so, long story short, I was in the midst of literally losing everything. When I say everything, I was losing my girl, who's now my wife. I was losing my daughter. Boxes were packed in the house. Like, it was a very, very adverse situation. And so around that time, I also did not have a car. I was 3 months past due on rent. I'm 3 months past due on utilities. All things that I caused, right? It wasn't a situation where, like, the economy crashed. No, like, it was my responsibility. It was decisions I made. I love how Darius said it. We were at an event today, and Darius said it best. He said, every decision you make is a seed to a season. And so every choice you make is leading to a season of your life. And so if you ever look up and you're not happy with the surroundings or the environment, reference back to a choice you made. And so what ended up happening was, in the midst of that, I ended up making a promise to that woman. I said, listen, I'm going to work everything out for us. She wasn't working. I had an opportunity, but it was not working for me. But I said, listen, if you'll allow me to make this promise to you, I promise you'll never have to work another day in your life. I made that promise in December of 2014. January 9th is when my paradigm shifted. I ended up being at an event. That's why I tell somebody else probably heard this before. Big events create big belief. But I ended up being at an event. I spoke to a manager of mine, and he said, Damon, you are the most talented person I've ever met. If you would buckle in on this business, you would never have to worry about money again. Within 90 days, I made over $155,000. And the main thing that I changed, man, the main thing that I changed was focus. I think there's a lot of people that are extremely talented as entrepreneurs, but they are simply distracted. And I think the reason being is because we've all been conditioned now in this instant gratification era of not only quick money, but also having multiple streams of income. Listen, multiple streams of income is not a strategy to get rich. It is a strategy for the rich. And so when I looked around and I started to study the billionaires and the millionaires and people that were, seemingly making a ding in the universe, it was because they focused on one thing for 7 to 10 years. If you ever read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it says that to become an expert at anything, you need 10,000 hours. Well, guess what? That's going to take time. And so really what I wanted to do is I wanted to condense time frames and put in more work as quickly as possible to become an expert at what I was doing. And that's how we kind of got here. So, yeah.
Bro, that was very impactful, because even you said a few things in there that I want to touch back on.
Sure.
For one, that accountability piece, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people lack that, men and women.
Sure.
So for you to say that, even at that moment, I know we're gonna get to that part, like had that exact feeling of obviously losing everything.
Sure.
But that accountability piece, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think that's the first piece to everything else. Like you said, changing. So you taking accountability, even being behind 4 months on rent, 3 months on utilities, like that accountability and not trying to look to blame nobody else.
Sure.
Would you say that probably helps speed your process up?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, agreed. And then even with that also being said, that exact feeling, like, obviously, what was your support system? Obviously, I know as men, it's probably, it's easier for us to keep things in versus always just being like more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like talking about vulnerable. So at that exact moment, knowing like you're the only one accountable, knowing that you have a daughter, you have a family or whatnot, like you said, your daughter, and now you're in a place where it's like, dang, like it's not really no other option, but now it's like you're the only one accountable, but it hurts. So what was that moment inside you outside of the accountability piece that made you realize like, yo, like I can still overcome this? Because most people in that situation don't have that type of mentality. Like they think this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
Most people want to give up, quit, and just feel like that's the only option. So what was that other piece inside of you outside of the accountability that made you realize, yo, like I can overcome this, and then making promises in the midst of a storm?
Yeah. I believe that the examples around me were very, very key. I talk about belief a lot because my first mentor, one of my great friends, he stands by it. Like when people think of the word belief, they typically think of him because he's taught on it for a while. And so I tell people that belief is just simply a set of reference points. If you look up the word believe, it means to accept something as true. And so up to that point in my life, I knew what I was believing for because it was evident in every result that I had. So first comes awareness. What are my current results? Okay, here were the results in my relationship. It's in shambles. Here are the results in my finances. They're in shambles. Okay, clearly I'm believing in a way that's indicative of this result. And so if I'm going to believe something different, I need a different set of reference points. And that's why your environment is so important. The people that you hang around is so important. And so what happened for me was I wasn't paying attention, but up to that point, I had people around me with the company that I was working for, with mentorship that I had with other companies before, of people that had overcome. I remember a silent mentor that I had. I listened to an audio back in 2014. He was teaching and he said, during my days of overcoming, like during my days of getting started in entrepreneurship, he said, I listened to way more stories than I did how-tos. Why? Because typically you know enough right now to 4x your income. The problem most people have is their belief system. But if I can get the belief or borrow the belief of somebody that's already done it, I can do it as well. And so I remember visiting, man, and I would do the work. Like sometimes getting in those environments takes work. It takes driving. I remember I live in Columbus, Ohio. I would drive 4 or 5 hours to Pittsburgh because there were a group of people that looked like me. Like I had gotten into the insurance industry, and for the most part, I thought the people making wealth were a completely different pigment from me, and they were older. But then when I found out there were guys my age that were millionaires from the same industry, I did everything in my power to spend as much time with them as possible. So yeah, man, it was my environment for sure.
No, I like that too, and I want to back up because you also said, obviously, you said you've been involved since you came out the womb, while you was in the womb, which is very vital, and I think everybody is. I think people just don't realize they've been involved. So you know how sometimes we go through experiences or different people not speaking for you because obviously we just spoke about how you knew in certain times you would still be able to overcome it. So people that's in certain environments now and thinking like it's the worst thing in the world, they can't overcome it. Let's just go back. What could you give to a young kid that's from where you from or whatever, high school, middle school, that doesn't have that mentality? What could you give them? Like what would be their first step in helping them get to that level of evolving?
Yeah, to let them know that they already are. Like you said it best, bro. I remember I asked my mentor. Again, this is a guy that knew me when I had absolutely nothing. 2013, I wasn't even making any money at that time, and we were on a plane on the way back from a game, and I just asked him. I was like, man, how did you go from making $100,000 a year to believing you could make $1 million in a minute? Like what was that transition in belief? And he said, Damon, what is your current goal? I said, $1 million a day. And he said, I want you to understand that you've already done more than what you're currently believing for. And so what we're talking about is overcoming. But when I think back on my life, right, because they say you can only connect the dots looking backwards. Me believing to overcome that situation, I had already done way more in my life than overcoming 3 months of debt. Trying to make a little bit of money. Like I think again, Pastor Daniels, to me he's one of the most prolific speakers of our generation. Like I study the guy, but he said if money is all you want, you're still going to be poor. That's a fact. And so when I look back at my life, man, I think back to when my mother had to raise me by herself. Like we're talking about in a time in Cleveland, Ohio, 72nd and Woodland, one of the worst areas of all time, seeing people get thrown out of their windows, shot in front of me. I've survived abuse mentally and physically from a stepfather. You know what I mean? Like, so if I went back and looked at everything I overcame, I graduated high school with a 1.7 GPA. The only reason I went to college was to play basketball. I left as a sophomore. Damon, did you graduate? No, I left because I was tired, right? Like, I am not, when people look at me now, they may say, oh my God, you're so articulate, or whatever they may say. And I'm like, listen, the majority of people that watch me speak definitely got more of a formal education than I did.
No, and I appreciate the transparency, bro, because that's exactly what it's about. Not just the transparency, but like I say, evolving, showing people like behind the curtain, showing them to overcome anything. So I wasn't aware of like the physical abuse, obviously mental abuse, but the physical abuse from a stepfather, obviously not even having a father. So let's just touch on those two topics. First, with not having a father, what could you, obviously now you are a father, would you say that has benefited you? Because we always have this discussion. I feel like people say, yo, you can't pretty much father out of anger, because I feel like you angry, you know the scene off a Drumline when he went back to his father and threw the tickets at him, Nick Cannon? Okay, so it was a part in Drumline, long story short.
But I can relate.
Okay, so what could you say now, so in that sense, do you feel like that, obviously it's benefited you, but do you feel like you've been fathering your children out of love? Obviously out of love, but is it for the anger also of not having a father, like mad at your father for not being present?
Well, let me take it back a little bit, and let me be absolutely clear, because my dad watched this, Pops. I did not say I did not have a father. Okay. Let's clear that up. So my parents divorced when I was 2.
Okay,
and I was born in Cleveland. We moved to Columbus when I was 5, so I would go see my father periodically, and he was as active as he could be. But here's what's interesting in what you're asking me. Let me give you some context. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Okay. As a Jehovah's Witness, whenever you get baptized, if for whatever reason you get disfellowshipped, you're excommunicated from the religion. So not only are you excommunicated from the religion, but it's discretionary whether your parents excommunicate you as well. Well, my mother is by the book. And so at 18, the minute I moved out, was the last time I had a conversation with that woman. And so it's one thing to say, well, your father wasn't in your life. But very rarely, unless the woman has passed away, can a young man ever say, I don't talk to my mom. So I am 39 today, right? Not just today, but I'm 39 years young. And I haven't had a conversation with my mother, the woman that raised me up to 18, in over 21 years. Give you an example, when my sister graduated, she's about 7 years younger than me. I was 23, she was 18, and I remember going up to my mother because I was invited to the graduation. And again, excommunicated means she's not texting me, she's not calling me, like I'm pretty much dead to her. I remember walking up to my mom and I said, hey mom, listen, like I'm doing well in life. Like I was in sales at that time, I was running my own gym, and I was like, I'd love to take you to lunch just to kind of catch up. And she looked me in the eye and she was like, now you know I can't do that. So imagine that. So we're not just talking about physical and mental abuse. We're talking about trauma from abandonment. And understand the way that we approach relationships now is typically indicative of what we were lacking as children. Correct. Because I was never able to play organized sports, I was also lacking in affirmation. And everyone needs a healthy bit of affirmation. Right, sure. I was also lacking in confidence. And so in all those areas, it's what I now as a father do my best to instill. But I don't know if you've ever heard this. Strong, what do they say? Hard times create strong people, but strong people typically create weak kids. Why? Because we're looking to prevent all the struggle and strife that we experience as children. So you ask me, well, does that affect your parenting? Of course, because you are who you are. All of your doing comes out of a state of being. And so, am I doing it right? Man, I mean, I think my daughter is incredible. I think my son is incredible. They all get a chance to experience. Like I'm taking my family, taking my wife to St. Lucia next week. I'm taking my whole family to Dubai in a month and a half. And so they get a chance to experience something that I never did until I was 30. But is it right? I don't know.
Who's the answer to that?
Time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, well, hopefully they don't become axe murderers. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't raised that way.
Yeah, facts.
But it was funny. I can't remember the study, man. But they were looking at two different children. around the same age, raised in the same exact household. Upper middle class family, incredibly loving, 2-parent household. Both parents work, do well financially. One child is an alcoholic, in and out of jail. The other child runs a Fortune 500 company. Yeah. Explain that.
The difference. Yeah, I remember seeing something like that. It's just mentality and mindset. I think
maybe you know what it really is.
What would you say?
Here's my belief, bro. And I don't mean to get spiritual.
No, for sure. Let's do it.
But I am a believer. And so what I believe is with everything, there is an unseen force that we do not address.
Agreed.
And so there's some things that personal development can help, but with all things, only prayer can really solve the problem. And so how can I come to that child who is a murderer now and be like, I taught you better than this? Yeah. What? Only prayer can resolve that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's some things like when you talk about generational curses, right? Like whether it's porn addiction, whether it's addiction to drugs, addiction to alcohol, personal development is okay. So you telling me if I go to enough events, if I listen to enough podcasts, if I read enough books, or if I just simply show up on church on Sunday, it's going to resolve a generational thing? My father was addicted to women, so of course I'm going to have the same. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing that resolves that is prayer.
Yeah. And that's what. At what age did that resolve that for you? Did you have?
Well, what's today? well, let's think about this. How many days ago are we? But in all seriousness, man, the first thing again was awareness.
Agreed.
Here's the thing. So I knew that my only vice was women. Right? Everybody has a different vice. I knew that was my only vice a long time ago. The challenge is being aware enough to have a discipline to say, here's how I'm going to address it. Because in our culture, bro, if you get a lot of women, you kind of the man. Yeah, and so, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was praised for it from 17 to about 32. Why? Because no matter who I was hanging around, like, if you got girls or not, you're going to have girls when you come around me. And so you're praised for that. And then you realize, wait a minute, like, is this the man that I want to become? Like, is this how I want to be remembered? Is this what the legacy is going to be? Is this what I want my sons to do? And so a huge step for me was about 2.5 years ago, I got therapy. You know what I mean? Like to address the issue. Like, okay, this is a problem. Let's talk about it. Because I would hate for Malachi or Kyrie or Isaiah to be going through the same thing in their 20s and they're like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? And it would be one thing for me to be like, okay, this works for me. But another thing with the awareness is to be honest and say, okay, is this working? Yeah. Like, for some people, I don't know. For pimps, maybe that works. But for me and where I believe, like, I truly believe where God is calling me to be, it requires a different type of discipline. Because when you have people that are consistently looking at you as an example, like I have young men that are watching me that I'm not even aware of. Right. And so anything could cause them to stumble, right? Like I could be getting off of an elevator with a beautiful woman and they say, wait a minute, that's not your wife. And they're going to create a narrative that could cause them to stumble. Well, guess what? As a leader, even in the word, you're held at a higher standard than anybody else. So I was about to say, I'll be damned. Now I'm talking about God.
No, for sure you said that.
But I'd be darned.
Yeah, I got you.
If I create this incredible empire based on personal development and sharing the word, and then get caught in an affair. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. No.
It's crazy because we just had that conversation earlier. Me and Chris was just talking about that, having that same conversation earlier. But I'm glad you said that because I think even like you said, it may work for somebody. Yeah. But I know LaRussell said it too. But I think we all relate to it that had that issue. Yeah. It may be working for you, but it's not working like for the benefit of you. Like you really lacking. It may be working physical, but spiritually you're doing it because you're lacking something within. You probably feel small within your soul, so you like keep doing it. for that outlet. It's like a cry for help to some degree.
Yeah.
It's a cry for help to some degree. So I'm glad you said that, and I want to ask this. You kind of already said it, but in your own words, I always ask every guest that comes on, like, what is evolving through experience in your own words? And there's no wrong answer to it.
Evolving through experience in my own words. Surrender. Yeah. I would say surrender. Because at the end of the day, like, I believe we all put way too much pressure on ourselves. When you make a mistake or have an experience, that is your first time being there. Well, no, I've done this before, so I shouldn't make this mistake again. Well, no, like, this is a brand new day, and even with your experience or with what you know up to this point, this is still a brand new moment for you. And so one of the things that I would encourage everybody to do with the process of evolving is give yourself some grace. Like, give yourself some grace to be a human becoming. Nobody is perfect on this earth. Your favorite influencers have things that they silently deal with. And they could talk about authenticity and I'm vulnerable. Cap. Like, you're never going to talk about what's really going on behind closed doors. Right? And so I would say evolving through experience is surrendering to the fact that, you know what? I don't know what I don't know. If I do believe, if I am a believer, and I surrender myself to that power, source, guidance, whatever it is, then I know that I'm consistently evolving through the experience we call life.
Facts. Beautiful. Beautifully stated, bro.
Thank you.
And lastly, with that, not even lastly, I just want to back up because even with that, you just said something, and I want to ask. Man, I just lost my train of thought for it. Dang, I just lost my.
It's coming back to you.
Quick. I know.
It's coming back.
You.
Words are important, family.
Agreed.
I lost my thought. It's coming back to me.
It's coming back. It's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. Dang, man. I'm just gonna have to come. Dang. I can't remember what
we were talking about evolving through an experience.
Yeah, it was before that. You said something profound. I just wanted to hone in on it, but it's all good.
Grace, surrender.
Surrender. Yeah. So with surrender. So I was gonna ask you, not what point did that happen for you? Oh man, it was a really important.
Well, let's
question.
Stop there.
You say that again.
Let's stop there because a lot of people are probably gonna ask, well, what does it even mean to surrender? Like, how do you know you're surrendering? Bro, to me, surrendering is the ultimate form of faith. And I remember I was having a conversation with my therapist, and I was like, okay, how do I know I'm surrendering, though? Like, to me, surrender just feels like letting go. But technically, it's not. I'm a basketball junkie. Like, I hoop. Kyrie Irving is my favorite. I believe he's the most skilled player to ever play the game. I believe that Cleveland would not have a championship unless it was for Kyrie. The block would not have, anyway, that's a different story for a different day. Here's my point. When I shoot a free throw, the ultimate form of surrender is when the ball leaves my hands. But the ball would never leave my hands unless I went through the motion of intention towards it. And so to me, entrepreneurship is the ultimate form of surrender. It does not require faith to have a job. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. Guess what? I see every single week people gonna get paid. As an entrepreneur, I don't know where my next check is gonna come from. And so it's almost me surrendering my gift, my purpose, my strength to a higher power because I'm gonna sow the seed, I'm gonna water, but who's gonna make it grow? That is surrender.
Correct.
And so when I'm saying surrendering through or evolving through experience, okay, I know that I'm going to do my best. Am I going to fail? Absolutely. Why? Because the flesh is weak. And so you were talking about it earlier. Those moments of self-gratification, it is serving a purpose, but it's serving the flesh. And so it may feel good, but the lack of integrity is I know within myself I should not be doing this.
Correct.
And so me surrendering says, yo, I don't know how I'm going to resolve this within myself, this need I have, but I'm surrendering it to you.
Facts.
Lord, can you fill the gap of whatever's missing here?
Facts. Well, I need to evolve my memory because I hate when I forget stuff. But I remember what I was going to say. So in those moments, obviously you're in a better place now. Obviously you're continuing to evolve because I named evolving intention because it's a continuous process. So obviously now when you do get in those moments of, let's just say, I don't want to say dark spaces, but spaces where you're being challenged mentally and spiritually, what do you do, and what do you feel like other people can do, even if it's not the same thing you do? Because even as we become conscious and we grow and we become these great people that we ultimately deserve to be and meant to be through our processes, it's still a process that people, like you said, behind the scenes that people don't see. So for those moments when you have those moments of temptation of feeling like, I'm overwhelmed or whatever it may be, what do you do, and what do you feel like other people can do that's entrepreneur or even not entrepreneurs?
Yeah. And this is with everything, right? Like, you got people out there, let's not even talk about addictions like that. We got people out there that are just trying to start their workout program, right? It's like, man, I know I need to be doing this. I know, oh my God, I missed another day. Like, first, I think we need to be honest about how long it takes to reestablish a new habit. Like, these purus out here are saying it only takes 21 days. Hey, take my 21-day challenge. Afterwards, you're going to be fixed. Well, that's cap, right? That's not even how our mind works. First of all, everything has to go through your conscious, and then it becomes a subconscious thing. But first, with conscious effort, research shows, bro, that it could take anywhere from 63 up to 365 days of doing the same thing over and over before your subconscious mind adopts it and it becomes habit. So why am I saying that? When those moments come and I'm challenged, bro, it is a daily decision. It is a daily, sometimes minute by minute decision. Does it become easier over time? Absolutely, because you're establishing a new discipline. But I was talking to somebody and they were like, well, somebody told me that if you have a bad habit, just replace it with an empowering habit. Okay, let's take my scenario. My bad habit was, we talked about it earlier. So how do you replace that? With taking a walk in the park? By taking a cold shower? No. Like, we men, like men, come on.
Yeah.
Bro, like, no. It has to consistently be a question of integrity. Because a lot of times nobody else has to know. Especially at the level that I'm at now, like, nobody has to know. But then, when I step on stage, when I get in front of these cameras, authentically speaking, it always shows up. And so again, what type of impact do I want to have on the world? Is this the person I want to be? If somebody does find out, how will I feel about that? Is this a conversation that it's okay that I have if my wife was standing here? If this text message comes, like, these are all the questions. It's called self-discipline for a reason. And so a lot of times people think that self-care is, okay, I'm going to take a day off, but really that's not. The highest form of self-care is self-discipline. Discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and immediately follow through on it. And so how many times am I telling myself I'm going to do something and then I don't do it? Well, guess what? That causes a lack of discipline, which is a direct effect on your confidence. And so what happens when people are trying to start companies or become entrepreneurs or do something new, your mind has something called a confidence account. And your mind never forgets anything. And so what happens is whenever you try to do something new, your mind goes back into the reference or confidence account to see if you have enough to cover the fee. And so some people come to these events and they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so inspired. I'm going to go become a millionaire. Guess what? You don't know what's happening in your mind, but your mind goes back to the reference points and they say, okay, do we have enough confidence to even do the actions to become a millionaire? Oh no, because last week you said you weren't going to have a cookie the whole week and you broke down on Tuesday. Damon, that's that big of a deal? Yeah, it is. You said to somebody you were going to be at an appointment at 7 o'clock and you showed up at 7:02. That's not that big of a deal. No. You know what that makes you? A liar. It makes you lack in integrity. And so if I can lie to other people, I'm definitely lying to myself.
Correct. And that might be the name of the episode right there. I like how you said that the highest level of self-care.
You're a liar? We good.
No. Oh. That the name of the episode is like when you said the highest level of self-care is self-discipline.
Yeah, for sure.
I never heard anybody say that, so I'm glad you said that. And then I also want to ask, what made you become vegetarian?
Discipline.
Discipline.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll tell you exactly what happened, bro. 2023, 2022, I thought was going to be better for me. And there were a couple of things that I was still working on, but my wife suggested it. She was like, do you want to do something different this year? And so I set all my goals in November like I was always taught. And I was like, man, you know what? January 1st, 2023, I'm going to do a 30-day mental fast. And so I did that. Then I did a detox. I did a cleanse. I did a 5-day juice cleanse in February, and then I did a detox. It was supposed to be 14 days. Have you ever taken those teas?
The cleansing teas?
Yeah, like the ones that's supposed to clean the parasites?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cruel and unusual punishment. I didn't like it. I gave up in 3 days. I'm just being honest with y'all. But here's what happened, bro. I hoop every day. I work out intense every day. And so when I say at times my body is sore, I was doing cryotherapy, I was doing cold plunges, I was stretching, I was getting massages. Nothing was causing my inflammation to go down. I watch a movie on Netflix called Game Changers. My wife has been asking me to go vegan or a vegetarian for a while, and I was always like, well, where am I going to get my protein? I lift every day. Like, how's this going to happen? I'm not giving up a steak. Are you crazy? I watched the movie, bro, and it gives an incredible amount of just data. It's not bashing bad food. It just gives you straight numbers, straight data, studies. And so I watched it, in one part, a power lifter, guy that lifts semis and stuff. Somebody came to him and they said, listen, man, you're strong as an ox. How in the world are you going to continue to stay strong as an ox and you ain't going to eat meat? And he said, well, the funny thing is, I've never seen an ox eat meat. And I was like, dang, that's real. Bro, when I tell you, when I cut out meat, that was January, I cut out meat, beginning of February. Like, I can do 2 a days, 3 a days after intense workouts. The amount of inflammation, my energy, my clarity, my mental clarity, like, it's a completely different world. And so, yeah, at times I do miss meat products. That was about to sound crazy.
Yeah.
Pause. Sheesh. That was gonna be crazy.
Facts. I would have said pause. I would have
Thank you. But yeah, man, it's just the benefits have been crazy from it. So yeah, it's
glad
good.
to hear. I'm glad. I mean, I'm gonna definitely want to check out that documentary because one,
crazy.
I think that's helpful because, like you said, it's not bashing. Because I think when people feel like they're being bashed, it pushes them away. It 100%. Shuts them down. So I definitely want to check that out. Maybe we can convert some of the other people in this room into this side, but wow, we're supposed to be evolving though, right? You feel me? But anyways, just backing up too, I want to go back to like you said, having that integrity, like you said, standing on stages. You don't want to be saying something, but then behind closed doors, you're doing something that you know if it was in light. I think with that, more people wouldn't be able to. I think it'd be easier on the side that people know that what they're doing. I think it's the fact having to live with yourself. Yeah. I think that's going to be the hardest part. I don't know if you agree. I think that's the hardest part, living with yourself after the living with the ramifications of what you've done, especially knowing you've been portraying a certain image and obviously leading a younger generation that you don't want them going down the same path. I don't know if you agree with that, but like I said, living with yourself after the fact.
Yeah. And again, I think it comes down to really the vision you have for your life. Like, bro, I was just having a conversation with my therapist the other day, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant or haughty or any type of way, but I've always felt different my whole life. Like, I've always felt like I don't necessarily fit in with the jocks. I don't necessarily fit in with the nerds. Like, I'm different.
Your own flow.
Yeah, and I've always felt, for lack of a better term, chosen. Like, I am the first person in my family to make $1 million. Like, I am the first person to do anything that I've done, and nobody is necessarily on that wave, if you will. And so for me, when I came up with the vision always dictates the discipline. And so for some people, I don't know. Of course, there are people out here that I can't say why it's okay for them to do it, but it's okay. Everybody's conscious level is different, whether it's because they lack in vision or their vision is just simply different. But you know what was making me stumble a while ago? I'm glad you asked this because a lot of people probably feel this way too. What was causing me to stumble a while ago is because my pursuit was for money. What I did not understand was the spiritual struggle of, wait, I'm a very spiritual person. I go to church 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. How can these porn stars and drug dealers and have way more money than me? Like, I'm struggling financially, but they don't even know God. Like, how can this person that doesn't have a conscience towards women, they beat on women, but they are billionaires. But I love my wife, but I'm poor. Like, God, like something's not adding up here. And I'm sure other people have felt that way. And here's what I figured out. The principles work for everybody. I don't care who you are. The principles work. God's word will never return to him void.
That's powerful. I like that. And with that, then, even with that, I wanted to, I'm gonna say back up again.
Sure.
With obviously outside of the vegetarian, I know you're vegetarian. I'm vegan. I definitely would love to work out with you one time. You feel me? But
it's
that's
intense.
Crazy. I mean, hey, look, if I don't survive, at least it's a challenge. But I don't mind the challenge.
Yeah, I don't play around in the gym.
Hey, look, I don't mind the challenge.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the level of growth, though. You much younger than me, but I'm gonna say younger because I don't want to say older. But obviously, I think that's a dope challenge. I wouldn't mind taking.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Also with that, so the working out part, when did you like always? I know you said obviously since young. I know you started like high school. You was playing ball and all that. So you always been working out.
Always been an athlete.
Nonstop.
Like I literally got a picture of me at 2 years old holding a basketball, dribbling. Like I've always been into basketball, sports.
We seen your highlights.
I do my thing. I do a little something.
From OT.
Yeah.
I definitely could tell.
It was a little something.
Nah, for sure, bro. So before we wrap, man, I just want to say I appreciate it again. I want to see if you have any last words, anything you want to leave with the people, the Evolving Through Experience community. Any last words?
Let me just give everybody a couple of resources, right? So during my paradigm shift, there were a couple of resources that I began to listen to and really study. One was The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. Another one was The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Probably one of the greatest books that I've ever read in my life that is consequential to anything you're going to have in your life is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. I got really, really big on studying my mind, and so a couple of books I would suggest also are Dr. Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural, and also Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Definitely gonna put those books in the bottom. You got any books coming out, or any books that people could get? Not yet. All right. Well,
I got an insurance book, but yeah.
Insurance book. Okay, yeah. I can still put that down there because I know we had an episode.
Thank you for speaking that into my life. I take that as a challenge. Give me 90 days. I got you.
All right, say less.
90
All
days.
right, 90 days. We'll come back and add it to the episode because I know we spoke about insurance, so I don't mind actually adding that too because I think life insurance and other insurances are very important. Personally, for me, I don't know, you this is more you and Keon's field, but I think life insurance is the most important. Do you agree?
I mean, all insurances are.
All insurance,
yeah.
But if you had to,
if you had to pick a way to make money, I'm gonna say life insurance.
Life insurance.
Yeah.
All right, so life insurance. All right, so I think that still go at the top, not from the sense of making money, but from the sense of securing obviously your family's future.
Yeah,
make
absolutely.
Sure they're secure, because the money is the least important. But lastly, thank you, bro, again for pulling up and obviously just having this episode. So again, y'all make sure y'all follow Evolving Through Experience on all platforms. Special guest, another great episode. Y'all see it's a different scenery. This is a one-on-one episode. I don't know if we'll be invited back to the penthouse, but hopefully
penthouse vibes.
Yeah, penthouse vibes. But hopefully we do. And obviously y'all know, check them out, follow them. You can I'll put your at names, but you can tell me your at names real quick.
Yeah, Damon P. Dillard on IG.
Perfect. Yep. Obviously, you know he's not just shot physically. I mean, he's shot physically with the suit, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally too. So make sure y'all check us out, Evolving Through Experience. Peace. I'm a bad